Hello everyone, and welcome back to RoboCow's Darksider's lore summary. In the previous episode, we joined War as he investigated the true culprit behind the apocalypse, ultimately discovering that the Charred Council was the force secretly manipulating events to disrupt the balance. Today, we delve into Darksiders 2 and follow the story of Death, the eldest and arguably most powerful of the four horsemen. Where was he during War's plight? And what are the origins of the horsemen themselves? We'll answer all of these questions and more in this video. If you haven't seen the first episode covering the events of the first Darksiders game, you can find the link in the end of the video. Without further ado, let's dive right in.
The four would serve the council in exchange for unimaginable power. Thus were the dreaded horsemen formed, and the riders' first task was to purge their own brethren from creation, to annihilate the Nephilim and destroy their souls. Let us now cast our gaze to one amongst the four, not War, who lies chained at the council's feet, professing his innocence, but one who would save his brother above all else. He has many names: Kinslayer, Executioner, Death.
After the Nephilim's war on Eden, their souls were bound within a powerful artifact. The Charred Council, the enigmatic overseers of balance, entrusted Death with the grim task of destroying this artifact, ensuring the Nephilim remained at peace. However, burdened by guilt for his role in the Nephilim's fate, Death hesitated. He chose instead to give the artifact to Crowfather, the mysterious keeper of secrets, for safekeeping. Little is known about Crowfather's origins. Some whisper that he's among the oldest beings in existence, possibly even predating the Charred Council and the Makers themselves. He's rumored to possess vast knowledge, second only perhaps to the archangels like Azrael. Crowfather typically secludes himself within a frozen wasteland known as the Veil. As we know, the apocalypse was prematurely unleashed upon Earth, leading to Abaddon's demise and humanity's extinction. War, framed for this catastrophe, was imprisoned by the Charred Council. Determined to save his brother, Death embarked on a solitary quest to clear War's name. He vowed to restore humanity in exchange for War's freedom. Uncertain where to begin, Death rode to the Veil seeking Crowfather's guidance. From his sanctuary, Crowfather observed the unfolding chaos. However, accepting Death's artifact had unforeseen consequences. The Nephilim souls within tormented him relentlessly, their cries for release echoing in his mind. Upon Death's arrival, Crowfather, eager to be rid of the artifact's burden, was prepared to return it. But when Death revealed his true purpose, to resurrect humanity, Crowfather was deeply disappointed. He claimed that Death's quest was futile, but offered a path forward. The Tree of Life held the key to restoring humanity. To open a portal to the tree, however, Death would have to take back the artifact, or at least see to its destruction. The horseman, unwilling to compromise his brother's only chance, refused. Enraged, Crowfather declared he would rather die than help Death. With a surge of magic, he took on War's form and attacked.
To join them? And what of War? Would you kill your brother to save your precious balance?
He is innocent.
Are you so certain?
Proving his reputation as the most formidable horseman, Death overcame War's form and struck down Crowfather, activating the portal. But with his dying breath, Crowfather shattered the artifact containing the Nephilim souls, shards of which pierced Death's chest. He collapsed as the portal consumed him, transporting him to the ancient realm of Forge Lands. The Forge Lands, birthplace of the Makers, stood as a testament to their craftsmanship. It was here they shaped the universe, forging worlds, weapons, and the constructs, colossal stone guardians. Even the three realms of existence, heaven, hell, and earth, were born from the Maker's ingenuity. Unlike ordinary souls, the Makers, existing before the universe's creation, couldn't pass on to the well of souls upon death. To prevent this cosmic imbalance, their essence was used to create soul stones, artifacts powering the constructs. However, after eons of prosperity, a creeping corruption known as the corruption plagued the forged lands. This viscous, black substance infected everything it touched, twisting creatures and constructs alike into mindless, aggressive husks. Death awoke to find himself face to face with an elder maker named Alya. She lamented his arrival, believing it a harbinger of further chaos. Death, indifferent to the forged land's fate, cared only for reaching the tree of life. Alya revealed that while the tree held power over life and death, the corruption blocked all paths to it. To gain access, Death would first need to aid the Maker's leaders, the Guardians, who were desperately battling the encroaching blight. Throughout his journey, Death crossed paths with various Makers, each with their own role to play in the fight against the corruption. Among them was the warrior Thane, brother to the Old One, Thane, encountered in the first Darksiders. True to his nature, Thane offered Death combat training and powerful weapon upgrades in exchange for his services. At the Forge, the heart of the Maker civilization, Death encountered Alya's sister, the smith Muria. She revealed that in a desperate attempt to combat the corruption, the Makers had begun constructing a colossal construct, the Guardian. Unfortunately, an unforeseen earthquake had sealed the entrance to its construction site, leaving the Guardian incomplete and vulnerable to the corruption. Alya tasked Death with reactivating the ancient energy conduits known as the Animators to power the forge and potentially turn the tide against the corruption. He journeyed to the Foundry, a once great workshop now overrun by corrupted constructs. There he encountered Karn, a young maker who had attempted to restart the Animators himself, only to fail. He promised his assistance in exchange for Death retrieving a treasured artifact he had lost within the Foundry. Deep within the Foundry, Death encountered the first of many corrupted constructs he would face, the Gatekeeper, a towering monstrosity guarding the path to the Animators' controls. With the Gatekeeper vanquished, Death reactivated the Foundry's central furnace, restoring the flow of molten energy. He returned to the forge to inform Alya of his success. For completing the Fire of the Mountain quest, Death received a fitting reward, Absolution, one of the two legendary pistols wielded by the Horsemen. The other, Redemption, was entrusted to War in the first Darksiders. His next task, the Lost Temple, awaited in the fjord. The Makers had built this massive dam to control the icy waters flowing from the tier of the mountains. But the fjord had fallen victim to the corruption, becoming a haven for a monstrous creature known as Karkinos. Death vanquished Karkinos, opening the dam's floodgates and allowing the icy waters to flow freely back towards the city. The Tears of the Mountains quest was complete. During his trials, Death had also recovered a powerful artifact known as the Death Grip. Similar to War's crossblade, this mystical gauntlet allowed him to grapple onto objects and enemies from afar, adding a new dimension of traversal and combat to his repertoire. With the Animators fully operational, the fires of the Foundry roared once more, fueled by molten energy and the mountain's sacred waters. Using these resources, Alya and Muria forged a vital artifact, the Maker's Key. This key, imbued with the essence of a soul stone, held the power to awaken dormant constructs scattered throughout the forged lands. Armed with this ancient tool, Death journeyed to the Lost Temple, seeking to rouse a slumbering construct found within. Using his mastery over stone and earth, the awakened construct helped Death rebuild the shattered bridge, clearing a path forward to the Foundry and, ultimately, the dormant Guardian. Before proceeding, Death voiced his lingering doubts to Aruis. Was he truly on the path to the Tree of Life, or was this all a fool's errand? Aruis, amused by his uncertainty, countered with a question of his own. Did Death even understand the true nature of the tree? The Tree of Life is not simply a destination, he explained. It is a nexus, a convergence point where all realms intersect. Aruis emphasized that reaching the tree was not the end but merely the beginning of a far greater journey. Within the heart of the Foundry, Death found the Guardian still incomplete, requiring 3 soul stones to activate. With Karn's guidance, Death retrieved and placed the stones within the Guardian's colossal frame. However, the 3rd stone had been corrupted, and upon activation, the Guardian awoke in a frenzied state. The colossal construct rampaged out of control, threatening to destroy the forged lands, its intended purpose twisted into a horrifying mockery. Death, realizing the gravity of his mistake, gave chase to the rampaging Guardian. He arrived at the forge just in time to witness Alya desperately, but futilely, attempting to purge the corruption consuming the colossal construct. With the fate of the forged lands and its inhabitants hanging in the balance, Death had no choice but to confront the Guardian himself. A battle for the very survival of the Makers was about to begin. The Guardian was shattered, and there was no time to construct another. Seeing the desperate plight, Aruis made a fateful decision. He would give his own life force to revive the fallen Guardian. With a heavy heart, Aruis slammed his staff into the ground, channeling every ounce of his being into the inert machine. A wave of energy pulsed outward, cleansing the corruption and rebuilding the Guardian anew. The colossal construct surged back to life, now imbued with Aruis's spirit and resolve. But it came at a terrible price. The old Maker's body withered, his life force spent. With a roar both mournful and defiant, the Guardian charged into the heart of the corruption, determined to sacrifice itself to clear a path to the Tree of Life. Approaching the Tree of Life, Death discovered a massive, intricately carved door at its base. Suddenly, tendrils of corruption erupted from the portal, pulling Death into the heart of the tree. He found himself face to face with a being who called himself Absalom, Death's brother. Absalom, also known as the first Nephilim, was a being born from the combined essence of angels and demons. He had led the Nephilim in their conquest of the universe during the ancient war on Eden. Death, bound by the Charred Council's decree, had defeated Absalom, ending the Nephilim's rampage and bringing a semblance of balance to creation. But Absalom's death, fueled by his rage and resentment towards Death, birthed the corruption. It clung to Death, staining him with the mark of Kinslayer, a betrayer of his own kind. After a brief, chilling exchange, Death moved past the corrupted heart of the tree and emerged on the other side. Just as Aruis had foretold, the tree was a crossroads, a nexus between realms. But this side was known as the Tree of Death, leading to a realm known as the Deadlands, a purgatory where souls awaited judgment and eventual passage to the Well of Souls. At the base of the tree, Death encountered Ustegan, a ramshackled merchant with the head of a ram. Stegan revealed that to restore humanity, Death would need to seek an audience with the Lord of the Dead himself, Death's namesake, the ruler of the Deadlands. The Lord of Death resided within a colossal, floating fortress known as the Eternal Throne, held aloft by two gargantuan leviathans. Following Stegan's directions, Death scaled the treacherous spine of the world, ringing the massive bells atop the mountain to summon one of the leviathans. As the creature soared past, Death leapt from the peak, landing upon its back. He urged his steed, Despair, across the leviathan's immense form and infiltrated the Eternal Throne. However, even as a horseman bearing the mantle of Death, he was not granted immediate access to the Lord of the Dead. He was met instead by the Chancellor, the Lord of Death's major domo, who oversaw all audiences with the ruler. The Chancellor explained that any being seeking passage out of the Deadlands had the chance to earn their freedom through a gruesome tradition, combat within the Lord of Death's arena. Only by defeating the arena champion and bringing back his essence would Death prove his worth to stand before the master of this realm. The current champion, the Chancellor revealed, was a formidable beast called Not-So-Ol, a skull-faced horror capable of draining the strength of its vanquished foes. Death's trial had just begun. Outside the Grand Hall of the Eternal Throne, Death encountered another intriguing figure, a master swordsman named Draven. Their conversation revealed that Draven had once been a formidable general on Earth, driven by a thirst for conquest. He had assembled a powerful army, intending to unite humanity under his rule. However, his ambitions were cut short when he was betrayed and murdered by his own lieutenants. Within the Deadlands, like all souls, Draven was offered a chance at immediate resurrection, if he could defeat Not-So-Ol in the arena. He became one of the few warriors to ever survive the harrowing ordeal, besting the champion and earning his freedom. However, the Lord of Death, intrigued by Draven's skill and ruthlessness, offered him a proposition he couldn't refuse, to serve as the champion of the arena indefinitely. Though bound by his oath to the Lord of Death, Draven seethed with resentment. He refused Death's offer of assistance, vowing to free himself from this forced servitude and exact revenge on the Lord of Death in his own time. Despite his bitterness, Draven recognized Death's power and agreed to share some of his deadly sword techniques, aiding the horseman in his grim task. Returning to his quest, Death stood before the arena gates. After completing the ritualistic summons, the earth trembled as Not-So-Ol emerged. The arena echoed with the clash of blades as Death faced the champion head-on, ready to show the gruesome spectacle what it truly meant to face a horseman of the apocalypse. Carrying Not-So-Ol's skull, Death returned to the Eternal Throne and presented the grisly trophy to the Chancellor. Granted an audience with the Lord of Death, Death offered a trade, information regarding the Well of Souls in exchange for a favor. The Lord of Death agreed. His task for Death: hunt down and capture 3 rogue Deadlords, his former lieutenants. When the balance shifted and souls flooded the Deadlands following the apocalypse, these Deadlords abandoned their posts and fled into the farthest reaches of the realm. To aid Death in his mission, the Lord of Death bestowed upon him a powerful magic known as the Interdiction. With it, Death could summon and bind the Deadlords to his will, should he manage to defeat them. The first Deadlord on Death's list was Basiliscus. The moment the corruption began to taint the Deadlands, Basiliscus retreated to a secluded necropolis, refusing to answer his master's summons. Upon Death's arrival, the cowardly Deadlord attempted to delay the inevitable, sabotaging the necropolis mechanisms and forcing Death to navigate a treacherous labyrinth. Eventually, Death cornered Basiliscus within his own elaborate crypt. The Deadlord, believing his defenses impenetrable, challenged Death head-on. He would soon learn the folly of his actions. Next on Death's agenda was the Deadlord, Judicator. While he, too, had abandoned his post, Judicator's motives differed from the cowardly Basiliscus. He had sought to understand the encroaching corruption, venturing into its depths before retreating to his own necropolis. Judicator, intrigued by Death and his mission, agreed to return to the Lord of Death, but only after a favor was fulfilled. He tasked Death with hunting down 3 rogue souls, spirits who had evaded judgment and sought refuge within his domain. Once captured, Judicator would pass judgment upon them as was his duty. Only then would he honor Death's summons. Death soon discovered that the third Deadlord, the Guardian, had already fallen victim to the corruption. Instead of a reasoned confrontation, Death was forced to battle the maddened construct, its former nobility twisted into a horrifying mockery of life. Meanwhile, the final Deadlord, Stygian, remained defiant. He emerged from the shadows, mocking Death's efforts, claiming the corruption had already irrevocably poisoned the Deadlands. He scoffed at Death's presence, declaring that a horseman unbound by the end was no horseman at all. Stygian proposed a challenge: venture into the depths of the Phleithos, a fiery abyss, and overcome its champion, the Gorgon. Only if Death proved his worth against this monstrous foe would Stygian submit to the Lord of Death's summons. During his travels, Death also ventured into the Scar, a desolate region scarred by the corruption. It was within this blighted landscape that he encountered Echidna, a monstrous spider and one of the 4 legendary beasts Thane had tasked him with defeating. Death faced the monstrous arachnid head-on, his skills pushed to the limit as he battled for survival. Death returned to the Eternal Throne, bringing the 3 captured Deadlords, Basiliscus, Judicator, and Stygian, before the Lord of Death. Enraged by their betrayal, the Lord of Death struck down all 3 Deadlords in a furious display of power. However, despite the Deadlords' defiance, the Lord of Death acknowledged Death's success. He granted the Horseman passage to the City of the Dead and bestowed upon him a new power, Soul Splitter. This magic replaced interdiction, allowing Death to split his soul, creating 2 ethereal copies of himself. He could also transform his body into stone, becoming an unmovable object. Soul Splitter would prove to be a versatile tool, often used to solve environmental puzzles and overcome obstacles. The Lord of Death explained that after receiving judgment, souls were sent to the City of the Dead for a final cleansing. There, they would undergo a ritualistic purification, purging themselves of their past lives and memories before being reborn anew at the Well of Souls. However, the Chancellor had warned Death that not all souls survived this process. Some were driven mad, while others found ways to escape the city altogether. Reaching the heart of the city, Death encountered the Wailing Host, a monstrous warden tasked with preventing any soul from escaping. He had heard whispers, killing the Wailing Host would disrupt the flow of souls, potentially allowing humanity to be reborn from the well. Driven by his desire to free war, Death didn't hesitate. He charged into battle, ready to silence the host's tormented cries and bend the fate of souls to his will. Yet, his journey wasn't over. On the far side of the City of the Dead, Death encountered an unexpected figure, Crowfather. The Keeper of Secrets now resided within the city's ethereal confines. It seemed his vast knowledge extended even to the afterlife. Crowfather revealed that while Death's actions were noble, the Well of Souls was being corrupted by a force even he barely understood. Death finally learned the truth: the Well's power was being siphoned away, manipulated by none other than corruption. Death despaired. Had all his efforts been in vain? Crowfather, observing the horseman's turmoil, offered a final, desperate gambit. The souls of the Nephilim, still trapped within the very essence of Death himself, could potentially be used to purge the corruption and restore the well. However, it would require a sacrifice of unimaginable magnitude. Death would have to relinquish the souls of his kin, condemning them to oblivion for the sake of humanity. Furthermore, since the well was the source of all life in creation, he could use it to resurrect the Nephilim, restoring balance to the universe. Death remained silent, grappling with the impossible choice before him. To access the Well of Souls, one needed 2 keys, created long ago to protect the well from those who sought to exploit its power. One key was given to the angels, the other entrusted to the demons, with the explicit condition that the 2 sides never reunite. If Death could acquire both keys, the path to the well would be revealed. Crowfather opened a portal to Lost Light, a distant bastion on the edge of heaven where the angels guarded their key. Arriving at the base of the crystal spire, Death found the corruption already seeping into this once sacred ground. He encountered Nathaniel, an angel he had spared during the Nephilim War. Though his memories were hazy, Nathaniel remembered Death's mercy and spoke of his duty, guarding the crystal spire alongside its Archon Luminon. Luminon, the protector of the angel key and guardian of the city of Angelus City, remained untouched by the corruption. but the key itself was located within Angelus City, now overrun by corrupted forces. Luminon would only allow Death access if he recovered the Rod of Arafel, a powerful artifact currently lost on the corrupted remnants of Earth. And so, Death's quest continued. His path led him back to the shattered remains of humanity's world. On the ravaged Earth, Death encountered Uriel, now leading the Hellguard in a desperate fight for survival against the demonic hordes that had overrun the planet. He saved her from a demonic ambush, and in return, Uriel provided crucial information about the Rod of Arafel. During the chaos of the apocalypse, Abaddon had brought the rod to Earth but ultimately fell in battle, the artifact lost amidst the devastation. The Destroyer, the monstrous champion of the demon lord Belial, had discovered the rod and shattered it into 3 pieces, scattering the fragments throughout the ruined city. He now used the rod's immense power to fuel his demonic legions and maintain his iron grip on the ravaged realm. Death, undeterred by the dangers, ventured into the ruins, fighting his way through hordes of demons and overcoming treacherous trials. He recovered the 3 fragments of the Rod of Arafel, bringing them back to Luminon in Lost Light. With the rod restored, Luminon wasted no time. He performed an ancient ritual, cleansing a path to Angelus City and granting Death a spectral steed to traverse the treacherous terrain. Seek out the librarian within the city, Luminon instructed. He will aid you in your quest. And so, Death rode forth into the heart of the corrupted Angel City, the Angel Key and the fate of humanity hanging in the balance.
Most ancient. He still wanders the ruins. He can help you end your quest.
Tragically, Death found the librarian consumed by corruption, his mind lost to madness. Left with no other choice, Death fought his way through the corrupted scholar's defenses, hoping to recover the Angel Key and salvage some sliver of hope from the depths of despair.
Mercy, horsemen! Where is it?
Just as the librarian was about to succumb to the corruption completely, a flicker of his former self resurfaced. He confessed to Death in a frenzy of fear and regret, revealing a shocking truth. Luminon, the very Archon Death had trusted, was the one responsible for spreading the corruption throughout Lost Light. Luminon had orchestrated everything, manipulating Death into retrieving the Rod of Arafel so he could claim its power for himself. He had lured Death to Angelus City, intending for the corrupted librarian to eliminate him, ridding himself of a potential threat. The Angel Key, the librarian revealed, wasn't in Angelus City at all, but remained in Luminon's possession at the Crystal Spire. Enraged by this betrayal, Death stormed back to the spire, confronting Luminon. A fierce battle ensued, the once sacred grounds now a battlefield fueled by deceit and desperation. Death, his fury righteous and cold, struck down the corrupted Archon, claiming the Angel Key and avenging the countless souls lost to Luminon's treachery.
Only I may bear the key. May the light of all that is holy destroy you!
Within the corrupted depths of Angelus City, Death found a Voidwalker gauntlet, similar to the one War used in the first Darksiders. It allowed him to create 2 linked portals, instantly transporting himself between them, a crucial tool for navigating the fractured landscape. If Lost Light was Heaven's distant outpost, marked by the Crystal Spire, then Shadow's Edge was Hell's ravaged frontier, dominated by the imposing Black Stone. This realm, once ruled by the formidable Archangel Samael, housed powerful artifacts and forgotten secrets. However, since Samael's imprisonment for defying the Charred Council, Shadow's Edge had fallen into disarray, now under the control of the demon Lilith and her loyal legion. Lilith was no stranger to death. Their history stretched back millennia. The three realms knew her as the consort of Lucifer and the embodiment of temptation and manipulation. However, through their exchange, a startling truth was revealed. Lilith was Death's mother, the mother of all Nephilim. The Darksider's graphic novel, Abomination, released alongside Darksiders 2, elaborated on this shocking lineage. It recounted how Lilith, using her seductive guile, manipulated a talented maker named Absalom, not to be confused with Death's brother, into revealing his secrets. With this stolen knowledge, Lilith combined the essence of angels and demons, creating the very first Nephilim, her son, Absalom. This act would birth an entire race of powerful warriors, destined for conquest. Though the Charred Council later stripped Lilith of her stolen knowledge, she never abandoned the hope of reviving her fallen children. Believing Death possessed the means to restore the Nephilim, through the souls embedded in his being, she agreed to help him obtain the demon key. Lilith bestowed upon Death's Voidwalker a new power, the ability to pierce the veil of time. With this Time Walker enhancement, Death journeyed back to a time before the apocalypse, when Samael still ruled Shadow's Edge. Death confronted the Archangel, demanding the demon key. Samael, ever proud and defiant, refused to relinquish such a powerful artifact. A fierce battle ensued, Death forced to prove his worth against the one-time ruler of Shadow's Edge.
So, the Charred Council sends only one horseman, even to the past. No, this visit is unsanctioned. In fact, no one knows you're here.
Not a soul. Hand over the key, it could be our little secret.
Pitiful. Flawed castings from a perfect mold. Absalom was always stronger than the rest of you.
You'll find me strong enough, Samael.
Yes. You have overcome many obstacles to stand here before me. But sometimes the hero dies in the end. Ask your brother.
Will you surrender the key, or must I take it?
Horseman, you already know the answer.
Despite facing an opponent whose power rivaled that of Lucifer himself, Death fought with the skill, ferocity, and unwavering resolve befitting the leader of the Four Horsemen. After a grueling battle, neither warrior able to gain the upper hand, Samael yielded, impressed by Death's determination and recognizing a kindred spirit beneath the horseman's grim exterior. He relinquished the demon key, entrusting Death with the fate of the Well of Souls. Behind the gate, Death found the Well of Souls tainted, a twisted reflection of its former glory. The source of the corruption had taken root, burrowing deep into the wellspring of creation. And there, taking the form of Absalom, the first Nephilim, the corruption made its final stand, a twisted mockery of life itself determined to prevent death from restoring humanity.
Heart. You cannot stop me without forever damning your soul!
Then so be it.
once your brother.
At that moment, Crowfather reappeared, presenting Death with two choices: restore humanity or resurrect the Nephilim. Death hesitated, the weight of both options heavy on his soul. Finally, he spoke, "After everything, my brother needs me." Removing his mask, Death addressed Crowfather one last time: "Take them. Their souls. Their fate. It's done." And with that, he cast the souls of his brethren into the well, taking the Nephilim's essence, and his own, with them. Death's sacrifice, fueled by unwavering loyalty and love for his brother, cleansed the well of souls, atoning for war's perceived crimes. Humanity was reborn, its history rewritten but not forgotten. Yet, Death's story was far from over. A century later, with the seventh seal broken and the end war upon creation, Death would answer war's call. Reunited, the four horsemen would stand against all threats to balance, be they angels, demons, or even the Charred Council itself. As revealed in Darksider's Genesis, the events that transpired, war's imprisonment and eventual release, were all part of the Charred Council's grand machinations. Death's sacrifice, his arduous journey, seemed almost meaningless in the face of such cosmic manipulation. Yet, he had accomplished something extraordinary, ridding creation of the corruption and granting humanity a second chance at life. In the next chapter of our Darksider saga, we'll explore the story of Fury, the only female horseman. What was her role in the events that unfolded? And what mission did the Charred Council entrust to her during war's imprisonment? Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. This is Robo Cow, signing off, until next time.